The following podcast contains movie spoilers and mature content, including graphic descriptions of violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Opening Kill, the podcast that dives deep into the chilling world of horror films. Every other Thursday, we explore a different movie, from cult classics to modern masterpieces, uncovering behind-the-scenes secrets, analyzing themes, and sharing spine-tingling trivia. Join us as we chat with filmmakers, actors, and fellow horror enthusiasts to celebrate the art of fear in cinema. And now, the hosts of Opening Kill, Michael Doran and Brian O'Connor.
Welcome to Opening Kill.
How are we feeling today, Brian?
Pretty good. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm excited about today's movie.
I am too. And how timely.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you're having a great holiday. And so before we get into that, we are going to do something a little bit new that we have not done before. It's a new segment that we like to call Nightmare News Flash.
I'm excited about a little bit of casting news for a franchise that I love. It's my favorite horror franchise. The Scream franchise has found probably the new leading lady, I'm assuming. Sidney Prescott's daughter has been cast for Scream 7. It is Isabel May. Now, I haven't seen anything she's in, but she's in the 1883, the prequel to Yellowstone.
Right.
So that's definitely her biggest thing. But she looks to be probably like 16, 17, so looks like it'll be perfect for like that high school classic slasher new leading lady. I'm assuming this is the new direction they're going to go.
Yeah.
Since they, fired their last one.
In other news, Michael Villela, an actor known for his role in The Slumber Party Massacre. Remember
Such
that
a banger,
film?
yeah.
He sadly passed away. He was 84 years old. His daughter confirmed on social media over the weekend that he had passed away from organ failure after he'd spent about a month in the hospital. Now, Slumber Party Massacre came out in 1982. Mixed reviews, but it has developed a huge cult following. There were a couple of sequels and such. It was one of those low budget movies.
It was also really cool because in that time, slashers were super sleazy.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's actually directed by a lady.
Yeah.
And she kind of leaned into it a little bit extra. Like, it's
Right.
really sleazy. And she's like, nah, like, we can do it too.
Yes.
Like, it's I don't know. It's a fun movie, I think.
It is a very fun movie, yeah, and made a lot of money.
Did it really?
Made almost $4 million.
Okay.
And the budget was something like $200,000.
Yeah, I would assume
it was one of those
minuscule,
movies.
yeah.
But anyway, Michael Villela, he played the power drill murderer, so he was the dude.
What a weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a fun movie. There were two official sequels that came out, part 2 and part 3. And then there was a fourth film that came out in 2021.
Wasn't it like a soft reboot? Like, yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet. I saw that it existed, and I was like, oh, I should definitely check that out. But
Right.
I haven't
Yeah.
got to it yet.
Yep. So there it is.
Well, R.I.P.
Nightmare News Flash. And now let's get into our featured film that we're going to talk about this.
So we're doing Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's Thanksgiving from 2023. And if you're a horror fan, I'm sure you know that the whole idea of this movie started from a fake trailer for the Grindhouse movie, where like a bunch of different directors just created these fake trailers, and a lot of them went on to be movies. Like Machete was one of them, and there was a couple others that actually got the theatrical film treatment. This one finally did. Years later, and I thought it was worth the wait. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, came out last Thanksgiving. I saw this in theaters.
Yep.
And just watched it again a little bit ago. A fun movie, perfect for the holidays.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Gather the family round, watch some Thanksgiving.
If you've not seen it, here's just a thumbnail description for you. It takes place in the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, during the Thanksgiving holiday. And basically, it starts out a year in the past.
Yeah,
at a shopping store,
big Friday
Black Friday
sale.
sale.
This scene is so amazing. I think it builds tension perfectly. Like, you can just feel the energy and everyone's anger just building and building until it just crescendos.
And really not all that much fiction here at the very beginning where you see the crowds.
This feels very real.
Yeah,
you could see, I could see this happening somewhere.
There are some people who take Black Friday shopping it's a sport to them. They take it very seriously. And in this case, it was a death sport.
Yeah. It's some fun opening kills. You know what? We have kind of 3 here.
We do. I'm kind of shy to make any of the store ones, the actual opening kill, even though they were killed because it wasn't by the actual killer in the film. But you have a point. I mean, you can say that the opening kill happened right there when they got trampled to death. And there were some pretty graphic kills in that opening.
I remember in the theater seeing this scene. I was just like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And like, I'm on board for it, but wow. All right. Like, 'cause you have the one guy. So finally, the crowd's getting irritated. They charge the store and they're just like banging on the glass. Like waves of people just keep coming. They eventually just like crash through, stomping on this one poor gentleman. And this one guy just walks through. He like catches his neck on the shred of the glass. Yes. And then like, our third death there is actually a pretty important character. The movie actually starts with 2 different Thanksgivings happening. We have a kind of like a middle class version of it, and then you have this high class, the owners of the store, their family doing their dinner. And it's just kind of cool to see those different classes at work. And the middle class family has a husband and a wife. The lady who ends up dying is the wife in that, and a good friend to the sheriff, played by Patrick Dempsey, who is pretty important in this film as well. But she gets trampled and somehow gets her hair caught
in the shopping cart wheel.
And then she this lady yanks the shopping cart away and it just scalps her.
Yep.
And she also I think her neck gets broken because she gets nailed by that cart originally. So it's chaos. And a couple other important characters there are the owner of the store's daughter, her group of friends.
Now, what started the riot was her and her group of friends. They went through the back door because it's her dad's store, so she's entitled to do that, right?
Yep.
So she and her friends went in there, and then one of her friends started antagonizing one of the other guys out in the
because it was one of the teams they just beat in football or something
like
one of those players.
Yeah, they did not. These 2 did not like each other. So he sees him out in the parking lot behind the barricade.
Yep.
While he's in the store, and he's, doing all kinds of stuff to antagonize him. And that's what really kind of gets the crowd moving. Like, what the hell? Why are they in the store?
Exactly.
And we're still out here.
We don't have our hands on a toaster right now.
Right.
Where's the justice?
That was it, too. You got a free toaster. That's what
there was something about a toaster. It was very important.
There were I think it was for the first 100 people through the door, they got a free toaster or something. So, you see police barricades in the parking lot and people are behind them. They're waiting for their free toaster or whatever it was. Yeah.
One of the guys who gets his neck sliced, he is actually, as he's dying, he's clutching this toaster to his chest, and someone comes up and grabs it. This is kind of a perfect example of how Eli Roth really knows how to balance horrifically gory violence with humor. Because you're seeing this dude bleed out, but you're kind of like, that's kind of funny.
Exactly. So then we get through all that mayhem, and then we cut, a year later, and there's still fallout from this. There have been massive lawsuits against the owner of the store for allowing this, and they're telling him, don't even open on Black Friday this year. You shouldn't open. But no, of course, he wants to make all the money he can, so he's got all these Black Friday sales ready to go again, and it's basically the same thing, but now they have increased security.
Because that was one thing. They only had 2 security guards.
2 security guards.
One of them just bailed immediately.
Yes, he took off. He was out of there. So we go a year later, and that's when the actual killings start. And the killer is wearing a John Carver mask. Now, brief history lesson. John Carver was a pilgrim, came over on the Mayflower. This is for real, in 1620. And created the Plymouth Colony. He was the first governor of Plymouth Colony. So in this town now, in this movie, around Thanksgiving, this celebration, they have a big parade, all these festivities. Everybody has John Carver masks.
Right.
Including
it's a cool
the killer.
Mask,
It is a creepy looking mask. Yeah, it really is.
When I first saw the movie, I didn't realize it was a real guy. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, okay. Got some actual history here.
Yep. So the killings begin. So I guess it's time for this.
Opening kill.
All right, so here's the deal on the opening kill in this. This woman was the waitress. She works as a waitress in the cafe, the main cafe here in Plymouth. She was the one with the shopping cart that, scalped Amanda.
And just one of the also like
nasty
angrier.
people.
Yeah. Like
Just
she was
nasty.
egging everything on. She was,
Yep. So she is closing down for the night a year later in her cafe, and all of a sudden the killer is in there with her, and we go through all this stuff.
This is a great kill.
Well, I will tell you, it's a great series of events leading up to the kill, and then I'll tell you my opinion on the kill coming up here.
Okay.
But basically, he chases her around the diner, and he's doing all kinds of things to her. He gets her face wet and then slams her up against the frozen inside part of the freezer door.
Yes.
And so
and like not just her face though, she gets her fingers in the water too, and those are stuck too.
Yep, exactly.
So she ends up skinning her fingertips and her face when she rips it off of the freezer.
Yes.
And the fingertips bit is important because she's trying to call for help on her phone, but she doesn't have any fingertips, so it's not registering that she's touching the phone.
And then she tries to do facial ID, the recognition, and her face is half torn off, so it's not recognizing her face either.
It's great. That's a great moment.
So she does get out of the diner.
She does.
Okay. And she runs, and all of a sudden he is waiting for her in a car. Headlights pop on, car revs up. So instead of running around the car, she runs away from it.
Really, of course.
Like they always do in these movies. He guns it, and she gets to a dumpster, and she's trying to dive into the dumpster. The car hits it. The lid comes flying down. Here's where I have a problem because
you mean it when it actually cut her in half?
It cleanly cuts her in half. I mean, it goes all the way through. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. It's going to maybe knock off a few digits, maybe, but the whole torso.
He may have hidden knives onto the edge of the lid.
Well, then we should have seen that. We should have seen that. And she's not a small woman.
Oh, no.
Okay, that's the thing here.
Hefty
and so
gal.
She was pretty hefty, and so the actual lid of the dumpster coming down, closing on her, in my opinion, I don't think. I realize we're not going to be realistic with these things, but still, it could have been a little more convincing. But that was the opening kill.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It was brutal.
Yeah,
it was brutal.
I mean, it's like everything you kind of want in a fun like slasher. There's some humor in there. It's fun, and then you get that gory payoff.
Yep, exactly. Lizzie the waitress.
Lizzie the waitress.
Now we get into another murder. It is Manny, the security guard from a year ago.
The one who ditched.
The one who took off. Just got out of there when things were going rough.
And he's kind of on edge because on the news they show that the bottom torso part, the legs of Lizzie, are now on the store's sign, under like a half off sign. So it's pretty good. So like he sees that and it says who it is, and he's kind of on edge because he knows, she was a part of that night. I had a part to play in that night. I kind of want to get out of here.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get on a flight or something.
He is. And he's running around his apartment and he's about ready to leave when he realizes he doesn't have his passport. So now he's trying to find his passport. And he can't, obviously. It's gone. And then all of a sudden, here we go.
He notices there's a John Carver mask on the table where there wasn't one before.
Exactly. And so he gets killed.
Yeah. And this one's a good one, too. It's very like, I don't know what he uses, like maybe like a piano wire or something where he wraps around his neck and then he just rips it off and his head falls off.
Exactly. And he's bleeding out
everywhere.
Now, this is one of my absolute favorite moments in the film. This reaction.
Exactly.
Okay, you know where I'm going, right?
Oh, yeah. This is a great part.
So John Carver gets to the door and
he has the guy's head in his bag. He's took the guy's head.
Yep. He's ready to go. And then he hears the cat meow. Yep. And he turns around and he just kind of tilts his head. And for a moment, you get a feeling like, oh no, this is going to be bad for the cat.
Yeah.
Well, the cat is now on the floor, doesn't give a shit about Manny laying there.
Fuck Manny. He doesn't care.
So instead, he's just standing by his empty cat food dish with the water. And so the next sound you hear cat food being dumped in, and then it cuts to the killer, and then he scratches the back of the cat's neck.
This is how you know John Carver is not a bad guy.
Right.
He's feeding cats, And you know what? And the cat would have been fed because he would have eaten the corpse. That's what cats do. But he cared enough to, you know what? Here, buddy.
Right.
And he gave him a little pet. So I appreciated that.
And just the whole reaction. He just tilted his head and looked down, and you're thinking, oh no. And then he was so kind.
The theater loved that part. Like that
it
was a big reaction.
It was almost Art the Clown-like
Totally.
in the behavior there.
Just, silly.
From Terrifier. But anyway. And then we go to more kills. And this is another pretty brutal one. We go back to the high school. And we have Amy and her boyfriend, Lonnie. These are more friends.
Right.
And they are led into, she actually leads Lonnie into, I guess it's the gym or wherever. There's a trampoline set up. And
so this is the guy who was the rival football player.
Yep, that was being antagonized in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So, and she's taking off her clothes and they're going to have sex. Well,
she's bouncing on a trampoline.
She's bouncing up and down on the trampoline, unaware that John Carver is underneath it with some kick-ass knives.
Yeah, so first though he like comes out and turns his head around.
He does
breaks his neck, and then he makes his way under the trampoline and she comes down, foot onto a knife.
And it wasn't even the foot, it was like the back of the heel.
Oh yeah, it was
Achilles
gross.
tendon. It was pretty nasty, and then he gets her all
the rest of the way.
Rest of the way, yeah. And so that was pretty impressive. I thought it was just I knew what was going to happen. She's jumping up and down. You knew that knife was going to come through there.
And that was a part that was in that original trailer was the trampoline. So everyone knew that a trampoline kill was definitely going to happen.
Exactly.
And, he brought it back.
Evan and Gabby, more friends. They're abducted.
Yeah.
While they're being chased through the school.
Yeah, that was a cool chase scene.
That was a cool chase scene.
Yeah, really good.
Yep.
Well executed. I love a good chase scene in a slasher flick.
Then John Carver, he gets Gabby's phone and he's texting Jessica, who's the main girl in this.
Final girl.
And so she thinks she's getting texts from Gabby. It's not Gabby, it's John Carver. So she goes down the hallway to try and find them because they're saying, hey, come to us. And she avoids being killed after a little brief chase down the hallway in a game of hide and seek.
Yeah.
And then,
she escapes. And
by this time, everybody knows something horrible is happening because all the friends are getting text messages from John Carver, and what they're being sent is a picture of a Thanksgiving table, and all of their names are around the table.
And he, with each kill, he puts like a part of that person at the table,
and they're seeing this.
Yeah. So
pretty crazy stuff. And then we have Jessica and her friend Scuba.
Yeah.
Scuba decides he needs to go get a gun.
Yeah, this scene is so ridiculous.
Oh my God. So they go to a party where there's a low level. He's not even a student.
No, he's
at school.
Like a 27-year-old guy or something.
And he sells drugs and guns to the, to
he's
the populace.
A known alcohol and gun dealer to high schoolers. And he doesn't hide it. Like, how is this guy not shut down?
I know. So they go to the party and they get a gun.
They do.
He's showing them all these so massive guns. And he's like, don't you have something human-sized? So he finally ends up with a regular-sized gun. And Scuba FaceTimes his girlfriend, Yulia, who lives with her Russian father.
Right. And there's like implied that he's like mafia or
there's a little bit of that. I wouldn't have surprised me. That never comes out, but
it's kind of implied that. So you get to their house and he knows something's up, so he wants to get her out of there. He's like, we're leaving,
we're on our way.
Yeah
And everything's okay until first of all, it starts downstairs because there's a police officer at Yulia and her father's house to kind of make sure everything's okay. And her father's there. Well, John Carver takes care of those two and then goes after Yulia. And Yulia's attacked, and Jessica and Scuba are seeing this on FaceTime.
Yeah, her death.
Oof.
There's a part that just
so
it's the corn
cob holders. So the things you pierce into either side of a corn cob so you don't get your hands all buttery. So he takes these and he jabs them into both of her ears from behind, and that's what they see. And then it goes from there. Her kill is pretty brutal because
it's because they're doing renovations to the house. So there's like power tools like all over the place,
and there's a table saw right there in the main entry. And so he's holding her. John Carver is holding Yulia
Right.
when Jessica and Scuba show up, and he's holding her, and then he kicks on the table saw and just tosses her. She loses some fingers, and then she just falls on top of it, and
Gets
that's
her chest cavity all torn up.
that's the end of Yulia.
Yeah, she did. You don't survive that.
It's she's disemboweled on that thing. And then that's that. Everybody else kind of gets away. And then we'll fast forward to the big Thanksgiving Day parade. This is one of the craziest.
This is a great scene.
This really
is. And
is.
it was one that kind of tips you to who the killer might be. Because he's very, like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's, like, using, like, smoke bombs. You're like, okay, this guy's got some training.
So the police are setting up a trap
Yep.
during the parade for him. And so they've got undercover cops. They've got, all over the place.
And they've got the store owner's family purposely out in public, in open, accessible to this guy.
Exactly, kind of as bait.
Yep.
And they're all doing that. So they do this. So you get going. You see there's a kid, poor kid. He's the turkey mascot.
Yeah,
he's
I don't
in
know
a
what he
turkey
did.
costume. I don't know what he did, but next thing you know, he's just been decapitated with an axe because there's John Carver, but he's in this creepy clown costume and not
Exactly.
the John Carver mask.
Exactly.
Because he's onto him, and you'll know why when we reveal who the killer is in just a minute.
And so so he chops this poor turkey's head off, throws smoke bombs. It's chaos.
Yep.
And one of my favorite kill of the movie happens in the parade.
Is this
it's like a float driver.
okay?
And
He's pulling the miniature, like the boat.
the boat, yeah. And the thing that goes out in front of a boat.
Yeah, the bowsprit.
There you go. Thank
Yep.
you. I knew you would know what that is.
I try.
And so, yeah, he slams on the brakes, and that thing goes through the back of the window and through his face.
And this thing has got to be like 7 or 8 inches in diameter.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's
it
like
isn't
it just
small.
takes out basically his entire face
Oh,
and
yeah.
head. It's just,
It's-
and here's the other Eli Roth thing. It's so funny. There's 2 little kids sitting next to him, and they get splattered once, right? And then they do another cut scene to the kids, and then they just start squirting the girl with more
Yep.
blood, and they're screaming. It's like, oh my God. It's on my list of one of my favorite moments in the film, that kill. It was just, it was pretty funny. So, and then we can get to the end here. I mean, it's
that kind of wraps up pretty quickly. He captures everybody. The family is now in John Carver's clutches.
they were in one vehicle together at this, so
very easy. He got him.
He got him and drove away. He tranquilized him and then took him.
And then we get one of the other best parts of this movie is the dinner scene.
Oh God, this was pretty gross.
Yeah. It went to a level that I wasn't quite expecting. Some reason, I should have, but I didn't.
So we end up back at John Carver's lair,
Yep.
basically, and the victims that are still alive, save the stepmother Kathleen. The rest of them, the father, and they're tied to their chairs. He had different plans for Kathleen.
He did.
Yeah.
And they weren't fun.
No, they weren't. He basically tied her up like you would a turkey.
Yeah.
And basted her like you would a turkey. And then stuck poor Kathleen in the oven. And the shot is great because the camera's in the oven.
Yeah, with her.
And you see the terror on her face. And she starts screaming because she knows what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden he opens the door and she's like, okay, please, please, please. And for a moment you think maybe. And then he just looks in and then he shuts the door again.
Well, doesn't he stab
that's right. That's right. The little meat, he stabs her with a meat thermometer. That's what he's opening the door for. I forgot. And then he slams it and then he cranks up the thing and then we see her cook.
And then the best part is the little thing goes, boop. Turkey's done.
Oh my goodness. And then we go to the dinner table and, the friends and family that are still alive are sitting there. And then he's got her covered up so you can't see it's her. They can't see it's her.
Yeah.
And then he's got his voice recorded, but it's been digitized, so it's not his real voice.
This is what I think him talking was a super cool aspect of the movie. Just his whole like reasoning and everything. Like it's got this cool message of like capitalism where it's like all this. Yeah, it's a great scene.
It is. It really is. And he basically is in fact, he's basically torturing them, and he's asking them, one at a time, what are you grateful for Thanksgiving? You're going to tell me. And then he slices off a piece of Kathleen and puts it in front of her husband, the dad.
Yeah, he just starts carving her up.
God. And that's when he throws up.
Yeah, he throws up. And he's got a gag in his mouth. It's disgusting.
I'm not a big barf fan.
I'm not either.
It's disgusting, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
It's somehow not the worst part, though.
No.
Because my least favorite friend of hers is this guy. He's definitely the most antagonistic of them, and he gets like a meat tenderizer to his head, and there's not much left of him.
And this is done. Like an industrial sized.
Yeah,
it's not one of like it's handheld, but it's one of the bigger
It's one for like
ones.
a restaurant. It's not one you're gonna have in your house.
Yeah, he gets pounded pretty good to where
it's pulpy.
By the time his death is over, his head is pretty much flat.
And he's live streaming this, by the way, too.
Yeah, this is all being live streamed. So crazy.
And the police are like trying to track it down this whole time. You get these like couple scenes where the police are like, okay, we think we've got it tracked. And it's kind of a fun, chaotic ending.
It is. It didn't go where I thought it was going to go. And there's at one point where they think they found him. This is earlier in the film because they're live streaming, and he was actually live streaming a monitor
of the live stream. Yeah.
So cops showed up and was like,
what
is
they
this?
got the location wrong. So genius there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have another chase scene when Jessica is able to get away and Scuba is able to get away and I
guess all their friends do get away. You just don't see how they do.
You really don't. So we get pretty much to the end, and the sheriff is there, and the police are there. They're on the scene now, and Jessica goes into this room with the sheriff by herself, and she's just been running through bushes and over a fence and all this stuff. So she's picking out these weeds and everything,
little burrs
and things out of her pants. And the sheriff leaves the room, and then he comes back in, and she looks down at the bottom of his pants and sees exactly the same stuff on him, which means he had been chasing her.
And we've got our John Carver.
There's your killer right there.
Yeah.
And she doesn't hide it very well.
No, she doesn't play it close to her chest at all. It's just like, immediately.
Yep.
And this is like, I'm with you, because I know you don't love the reveal either.
The reveal was okay, but you know how they did it it's kind of typical. I mean, that's how we find out that he was the killer. The fact that he was the killer is what I have a problem with.
That's exactly my issue too.
These scenes were so fast. All these kill scenes throughout the movie, it's like he's a killer, and then like the next second he's back out in his uniform.
In the high school chase scene,
right?
Like he's the one who's like, she runs outside and he's there as the sheriff.
Right.
So the timing is very confusing.
He's not even broken a sweat. And there's some scenes where you think maybe there should be blood or something on him from some of these kills. So for me, that just didn't seem real plausible.
It's the sloppiest part, which is a shame because it's the reveal.
Right.
It's,
it is.
It's a
pretty
bummer
important.
Because the rest of the movie is so much fun, but this definitely was the part where you're just kind of like, I wish it hit harder.
Yeah, exactly. And
I wish it was honestly Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan and her first boyfriend.
Ryan was her current boyfriend. He was trying to be her boyfriend at the beginning of the movie when she was with Bobby. Which we didn't talk about. He was, the boyfriend, and during the stampede at the very beginning of the film, he got his wrist broken.
It was like the whole arm.
Arm or something. And he was an all-star baseball pitcher in high school.
So he lost his life ended that night, basically.
So he felt that his life was pretty much over. He ghosted Jessica and the town and just disappeared. He bailed.
And then he showed up.
Yeah.
Today, like that day.
To become a suspect. So
he was a red herring.
Yep.
But I would have loved for Ryan and Bobby to have been working together. I just think it could have been a cool little, I don't know. It would have been unexpected and it had to be two people.
Yeah. It really needed to be for this to make more sense to me. I mean, I don't think that one person could have pulled this off the way they portrayed it.
No.
Now, not to say this is not a great movie.
Yeah,
because
it
is still a fantastic movie, but that was the one part where I kind of went,
Yeah.
The opening kill and then the reveal didn't work the way I was hoping they would work.
Fair enough. And we didn't say it, but the sheriff is Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, he's
I love
great.
that they got him.
Yep.
And he is good in it. Like, even when he's revealed and he's kind of like acting crazy, you're like, he's not bad.
Not
it's
at all.
fun. It's just, So the issues of it being the sheriff is no knock on him at all.
Right.
He did great.
And the reason he went on this killing spree was he was in love with the owner of the store manager, not the owner, but the store manager. And she was going to leave her husband to be with him, and she was pregnant with his child.
Yeah.
So when she was killed in that store scene, he lost the unborn child and lost his love, future right there. And so he decided he was going to now come back and just get revenge on everybody who was involved in that whole melee.
And I love that. Like the whole revenge plot.
Great.
Like a revenge plot can be well done or it can be terrible.
Yes.
And I think they really hit hard. I was really into his plot.
Yes.
And why he was doing everything he was.
Yep. Nope, I agree. I think it's a great movie. And overall, I mean, just a couple of things that I kind of dinged it for. And the fact that, I saw it in theaters when it came out around Thanksgiving last year and then watched it again here recently to get ready for this episode. And yeah, that's the thing that bothered me both times. It was like, okay, but still a great movie. Yeah, so highly recommended as we head into the holiday season now.
Exactly. It's definitely going to be an annual rewatch for me around this time of year.
Absolutely. I mean, all the Christmas ones are too. And by the way, speaking of Christmas, because we are going to be there before you know it, we do have a couple of Christmas-themed horror films for you in the month of December as well.
Excited to get to those.
So how about our 3 favorite scenes from the movie?
Yes, let's hand out the medals. So for me, third place is going to go to the dinner scene.
Okay.
Just the overall, I thought the reveal of his plot, it all worked well for me and was a lot of fun.
My number 3 was the party scene.
Hell yeah.
Where they show up for the gun. And because there's one part of the party where these kids just show up. They're trying to get in. They want to know if it's worth the price of admission. And
right.
There's a funny interaction between, I can't remember the name of the guy, but anyway. So it was just a very funny scene.
It was great.
Yeah.
No, it was a crack up at that one. Then my number 2, the silver, is I just lumped the parade scene as one.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. It's chaos and I love it.
My number 2, it's inside the parade scene. It's where the pilgrim driver gets his face knocked out and his head knocked out with that boat. So that was number 2 for me.
Yeah, I just love the turkey decapitation. The whole thing is fun. And then for me, number 1 is the opening, the Black Friday shopping scene. I think that scene is absolutely brilliant. Just how it builds tension, and you can just feel it building until it crescendos, and I think it's chef's kiss. Perfect scene.
And mine is the cat scene.
Yeah,
Manny's cat.
That's great.
Where he turns around and feeds him and just scratches the back of his neck and pets him, and then
he's a good
leaves.
boy.
He's a good boy. Good boy. That was pretty cool. So we do have another segment, one new segment we're going to add to our podcast. It is called the Scare Preview. We are going to talk about a film that is coming out here in the very near future that we are excited about. What is yours? So
mine is Nosferatu. It is the remake of that classic silent film, and it's got an incredible cast. We got Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, William Dafoe. We've got Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp. This thing is stacked. And Nosferatu it's essentially a Dracula story. They just didn't have the rights to the names of the characters, so they changed them. But it's the Dracula story, and there's a couple things changed here and there. But I'm really excited for it. I love that book. I read it for the first time last year. And so kind of everything Dracula I'm really into right now. So I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be stellar. Awesome. Yeah, that comes out on Christmas Day, I think, doesn't it?
Christmas. That's I love it when they do that.
Me too.
That's great. So for me, vampire and werewolf movies are my favorite. There is a movie coming out called Werewolves, starring Frank Grillo, Katrina Law, and Lou Diamond Phillips is in this too, directed by Stephen C. Miller, who actually made the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night back in 2012.
Okay, I have not seen that one yet.
Okay, I haven't either.
Okay.
I haven't either. Maybe we will look at that for next month.
Could be.
For sure. But anyway, so the movie where it's called Werewolves, and it's basically about a supermoon that comes out, and it triggers a latent gene in every person on Earth causing anybody exposed to moonlight to turn into a werewolf. So millions of people are killed, and then the movie flashes forward 1 year where the world is getting ready to again deal with another supermoon.
So does it kind of look like it's going to be like a mixture of like The Purge with like werewolves? Kind of,
where
people are going to be like locking themselves up or something?
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's where it is. So it's coming out on December 6th.
Okay.
So first week of December, it is werewolves.
Is that going to theaters?
It is theaters,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
going theatrical release. So, which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, so that is our episode for you this time around.
Yeah.
And please find us on wherever you listen to podcasts. Tell your friends about us.
Yeah.
Have them like and subscribe, and they can reach out. We have an email address.
Yep. It's openingkillpod@gmail.com.
Find us on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
Yep.
And we'll be back here in a couple of weeks, and we'll be talking about some Christmas stuff here too, I think.
I'm excited.
Yes.
Love the Christmas season.
Absolutely. All right. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Alrighty.
The Opening Kill podcast with Michael Duran and Brian O'Connor. Produced by Mystic Cloud Productions. Music by Tomas Herodek. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in 2 weeks.